99% of Idaho is abnormally dry.
Right now, there seems to be a limit on how much water is available in Idaho's longest river.
And there was a big common denominator. My well is drying up. I don't know what to do.
Our team at KTVB has been following the drought beat since spring.
This year has been the 36th driest on record for Ada County.
The drought. More than a third of Idaho is experiencing severe drought conditions this summer.
From the first worries of water users to the shortest growing season in the Magic Valley in 7 decades.
You've been through low water years before.
We have.
Why does this one stand out? Is it because it came on so suddenly?
No, because it's so drastic.
We saw the dramatically dry situation in August with reservoirs emptying rapidly.
That bottomed out this boat overnight. With another 2 vertical feet tomorrow, it'll be left completely on the shore.
Now we begin another water year with nothing left in the bank. Most of our reservoir systems have been tapped out. So how did we get here? At the beginning of last spring, the water outlook, it wasn't bad, generally speaking. Most of our mountain areas had decent snowpack, and the reservoirs still had a bit of carryover for emergency supply. Take a look at the snow water equivalent report from the end of March 2021, with most of Idaho in the green or very close to seasonal averages. In January, the Idaho Water Supply Committee reported that most of the reservoir systems serving southwest Idaho had decent carryover between 50 to 60% capacity. When last winter wrapped, most of our region wasn't worried about water. But let's go back to the snow water equivalent map again, the one from the end of March. You see that the central part of the state, including the Big Wood, Little Wood, and Big Lost region, not looking good on snowpack or reservoir carryover. Part of the reason for this could have been our unfavorable storm track. Many of our great snowmaking storms last winter would roll in out of the northwest and the west. The available moisture would get wrung out over the west central and Boise mountains, leave the central part of the state just missing out. Then we moved into spring, and statewide runoff wasn't efficient. One reason, because the snow melted and directly absorbed into a dry ground, rather than running off into the streams and rivers. The other big problem, well, spring showers just didn't show up. Rain will support great runoff, melting the snowpack from the top rather than the bottom. This trend continued into the summer. This was the driest March through July period in 96 years for Idaho. Watch the progression of the U.S. Drought Monitor from March 1st through the end of August. The first week of March, only 4% of the state was experiencing severe drought conditions. And by the end of summer, that number went up to 88%, with more than 20% of the state under exceptional drought conditions. On October 1st, the new water year began, and 91% of the state was under severe drought conditions or worse. Even after a very wet October, not much relief. With where we're at right now, experts say that we'll need the coming water year to produce at least 120% of average to enter into recovery mode. But it's worth noting, if the wet weather in October is any indication of what's to come, then the outlook is hopeful. You've seen a lot of talk about a bomb cyclone, people calling it a bomb cyclone. I know it sounds really flashy. At the end of October, our region saw the perfect storm setup, the bomb cyclone off the Pacific Northwest coast. It supported an atmospheric river that pumped a fire hose of moisture into the Gem State, and really right where we needed it most. Some mountain areas picked up 3 to 4 inches of precip. It decreased our exceptional drought conditions from 23% of the state to just 5% of the state. It's a start, but experts say the region still needs at least 2 to 4 more of this type of storm event to dig out of the drought. And that is the big question. So now what? And what is the forecast? What does the future hold? I guess the hopeful news is that we're in for another La Nina winter, which we've been talking a lot about, and we intend to talk more about what that means for us. It would typically bring above average precipitation to the region, but experts say, and data from past La Nina years, err on the side of caution. This is the big part here. I spoke with a hydrologist, David Hokema, with the Idaho Department of Water Resources, and he pointed out that over the last 4 decades, the last 40 years, when we've seen back-to-back La Nina winters, the second La Nina year has always been drier than the year before, and that means since last winter was a La Nina winter, this winter could be even drier than the last. And Hokema says if this happens, in 2022, Idaho will experience unprecedented drought conditions, potentially the worst drought in over a century. So it is kind of bleak news at the end of this story. We just have to wait and see.
Any farmer, any rancher will tell you that water is more valuable than gold in the state of Idaho. And right now, we've got gold, we don't have water. And the concern is they are teetering right now on the edge, many of them. And this is really important, and I know that you've been working and researching this for the last, well, 5 years of your career. But if you had to say right now, if we are going to pull out of this or not, where would you be leaning?
What really concerns me is this data that you see right here. When I was speaking with the National Weather Service meteorologist and we had these hopeful things looking at October and looking at the La Nina year, I was feeling really good. And then the next day I spoke with somebody that had some hard numbers and some data to show me from the last 4 decades. I'm really concerned at this point. We can cross our fingers and hope for the best, but I think it's time now to start planning for the worst.
All right, Bree, great story, great reporting. We appreciate your insight on this very, as Mark said, all important topic for here in Idaho. So much of our commodity, so much of our recreation depends on water, and we need it, and we need it in a bad way. Clearly.